Going live on TikTok. And I think we're all up to date. Good morning, everybody. Just getting ready to go live with Jerry Agar on News Talk 1010.
The Jerry Agar Show continues on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
Good to have you along, and joining me now, as he does from time to time, PC Sean Shapiro, traffic safety programs, rather. well, kind of. That was a Freudian slip there, wasn't it, Sean?
Just a wee bit.
Yeah, he's from Traffic Operations at Traffic Services on TikTok, and he does a show there every day informing you of the law and procedures in traffic. And some time ago, we decided every once in a while, every couple of weeks or whatever, we'll dip in and do TikTok and radio at the same time. So, Sean, good morning.
Good morning, Jerry.
Good to have you. BlogTO has this story of people driving where they shouldn't. Toronto Street is total chaos as drivers keep using the wrong lanes. And they're talking about a section here of red lanes of the Esplanade at Princess Street, despite signage and pavement markings indicating that the street is reserved for bus and bike traffic only. Those lanes are known as rapid TO lanes and can be found in other parts of the city like Scarborough. The problem is, I think, people are confused. They're confused by some of the bike lanes and what they do when they're trying to make a turn across a bike lane. Maybe the bike riders are confused. Lanes now that we have, like King Street, where you're not supposed to be with your car, it's easy for people to make those mistakes.
I think change. We're not really good at change, are we?
I guess not.
And signage, people, I mean, this happened with the King Street deal where you couldn't go straight through on many intersections and people just drive based on habit. They don't notice the red markings. The fact is you have to follow all the signage. You have to be aware of what's going on around you. And there's going to be a lot of people who get tickets as a result of their making those boo-boos.
I know, but do we purposely have to make it so confusing?
That's not my department. But no, I mean, I think that things aren't quite, I mean, if you look at it, the road marking being really bright red is a clue. So I agree that it does set people, into a bit of a spin. But we'll get there. I think we're all going to get to it.
All right, and maybe your parking officer friend will join us again from time to time, because in this confusion, I've seen situations where I'll pull up to park, and it seems to me that one sign says I can park there, another sign says not during this hour, another seems to indicate not at all, and I just go, I don't know what's going on here.
I can see that can be confusing. I've seen some photos shared on social media, and it looks like a tree, something out of a cartoon where every direction is a different. Yeah, I can see that being confusing, and I double and triple check myself to make sure that I'm not violating when I stop somewhere.
Well, here's a fascinating question from Mike from Rexdale. Go ahead, Mike.
Good morning, guys. I have a question. So I get pulled over by a police officer for speeding. He comes to my window and he asks me, "How fast were you going?" I believe if I was speeding, to answer truthfully, and you always have to be truthfully when speaking to the police, would be self-incriminating. So what would be the best answer? What I've done in the past is I've said, I don't think it's important, officer, how fast I think it was going. What's important is how fast you think I was going.
You know, it's funny. That's not something I would say when I pull someone over. I tell people I pulled you over for speeding because you were doing this at this speed in that zone, and I don't get into the whole question and answer. And that just might be the specific officer and their way of communicating. I think that's because they wouldn't lay a charge based on you admitting or not admitting. In fact, your utterances aren't something that I can use in court. But at the end of the day, I just get straight to it. I pulled you over because, and that's the way it should be.
All right, but he gets asked the question, and if he were asked the question and he politely gave the response that he just said, I think it matters what you think I was doing. I mean, I think that's a legitimate answer, isn't it?
It's certainly. There's nothing wrong with that because they pulled you over for a reason. They already have a speed. They've already got an idea as to what was going on, and they're not going to lay a charge based on you admitting it. That's not something they can use in court.
All right. Thanks, Mike, for the call. I'll tell you a quick story, Sean. When I was 16 or 17, and I was playing in a band, and we played, and then we were going to all get together on the farmhouse of one of the guys in the band, and I got behind everybody, and I was speeding. And at that time, we didn't have metric very much, so I know I was doing about 90, trying to catch up on a lonely highway in Manitoba, and I got pulled over. And the cops said that to me. How fast do you think you were going? And I said, well, I imagine I was over the speed limit if you pulled me over. And he laughed, and he said, yeah, a little bit. And I was young. I could have had my license taken away, the whole deal. And he asked me what I was doing, and I told him, and he said, well, where are the drums? I said, well, they're in the trunk. He said, show them to me. And I opened the trunk, and he looked at them, and he said, okay, I was telling the truth. And he handed my license back and said, try to keep it down around the speed limit. And he left.
You know what? At the end of the day, if you are honest, if you are giving a heartfelt, honest, and polite conversation, that goes a long way.
Here is Mark from Richmond Hill.
Good morning. My question is, what are the rules or what's the etiquette around Canada geese on a highway or a road?
Don't hit them.
So should you bring your vehicle to a stop?
Well, if you may have to, if they're crossing the road, you may have to avoid hitting them. Absolutely.
The problem you've got is Mark suddenly realizes that there are geese, and he slams on his brakes, and the next thing you know, there's a pile up on the highway.
Yeah, if you're at speed, we're not expecting you to cause a collision to avoid them. But if you can safely stop, that's the goal. If you can change lanes to avoid them, I don't see this as a general occurrence on the highway so much as on local roads. But if they surprise you, it might be a bad day at the office for them.
I assume, Mark, you're not the kind of guy who is cold to just plowing through the geese.
Well, I drive a fuel truck, and I was trying to avoid one to my left, and I ran over three to my right.
Oh, my.
No. Too bad.
At the end of the day, if an animal is the unfortunate, contact to avoid hurting people, that's where we go.
Thanks very much for your call, Mark. Appreciate that question. Here is Steve from Brampton.
Hey, how you doing, Jerry? Listen, what is the appropriate speed when you're passing somebody on a single lane, two-lane road, on passing, an open lane that you can pass on it?
Well,
I got charged for speeding by passing somebody. Well, if he's going under the speed, I would have to go over the speed limit to pass him.
Well, legally, you're not allowed to do that. Legally, you can't exceed the speed limit ever. So passing isn't
going. Okay. Yeah. So you mean to say I have to maintain the speed limit on the road to pass somebody?
Legally, yes. You can't exceed the speed limit to pass someone. So if they're doing at or roughly below the speed limit, then you should be doing the same until it's a place that you can safely pass them without speeding.
What if he's braking me, trying to cause me to have an accident, and I had no choice but to pass this guy?
Well, there's the option of slowing down and creating space as opposed to speeding up.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for your call. But you don't have an obligation to get out of the way and go onto the shoulder because some guy this is usually a guy that does this, comes up behind and just flashing their bright lights and get out of my way. You don't have to.
That's all bully tactics. That's unfortunate driving of people who shouldn't be driving. If someone's a police officer, fire, or an ambulance, they've got lights and sirens to tell you to get out of the way. That's different. Someone just flashing their high beams because they want to bully you into getting out of the way because they want to speed, not acceptable on their behalf. I understand why it might be a good idea to get out of their way if you can, because that's someone who is potentially dangerous. But you're not obligated to get out of their way.
Here's a text message regarding panhandlers, people turning on green, and then they stop to give money, and they cause an accident. Who's at fault if you rear-end them?
Well, it's twofold. One, the person who stopped in the middle to give money is going to be contributing to that collision, and obviously this is where dash cameras are awesome because you want that kind of footage. Because generally speaking, if you rear-end somebody, you're going to be the primary person at fault. Now, there is a level of responsibility on your part to give yourself enough space to be able to respond to changes ahead. So if you're driving, you want to give yourself that lane or more, or a car length, I should say, or more, to be able to effectively brake, and you don't want to be going so quickly that you can't respond to change.
Well, technically, if you hit somebody from behind, it's your fault, right?
Yes, but there can be contributing things like, for instance, he slams on the brakes to give someone money out of the blue, an emergency maneuver. That's why I say a dash cam, because if there's no dash cam, it's going to be hard to prove that.
Here's a question by text as well at 71010. Are bells mandatory on bicycles?
They are. You must have a sound device, whether it be bell or buzzer, as well as front and back lights. You have to have a white light on the back, a red light on the rear.
All right, so we will continue here with the TikTok traffic cop, Sean Shapiro. Your questions at 416-872-1010, 877-518-5151 to call toll free. And let's dip into, Sean, some of your TikTok questions when we come back after the break. So that'll happen. Thanks for listening on TikTok as well on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
Okay, we're going to put them in the background, and if the producer can let us know when we have 30 seconds, we'll come back. I'm just going to type a message in case they didn't hear me. Let us know when we have 30 seconds. And let's chat with you guys. So what you've been listening to is Jerry Agar on News Talk 1010. He is a radio broadcaster on News Talk 1010 in Toronto. And actually, that's also on I think it's also a couple of other cities that carry the show. So you're listening to what people on the radio are listening to right now. Now, we do that every couple of weeks. Sometimes it's every week. We were on last week, so this is 2 weeks in a row. Awesome. More opportunity to chat with Jerry is always good. What we are doing, though, when we go on the radio is we extend our live broadcast so that we get you for a full hour uninterrupted by radio people and call-in guests. So we will be continuing right until 11 o'clock where we answer your traffic and police questions. If you've got them, ask them. There's different ways to ask them. You can ask us in the chat, which we have the fortunate assistance of our volunteer. I get to say volunteer like that. It's so cool. Our moderator, who Q, and she's one of many, but she's actually helping me in a different way than the others. She is able to pull out chat questions and throw them on screen for me. So I appreciate that. If you're watching on some of the other platforms that we're broadcasting on, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, there's different ways to interact. Now, everything but Twitter, you can send us a message by just typing. And I see a whole bunch here. We got Akela Draconis with greetings and salutations coming in from YouTube. Tracy Bell's coming in from LinkedIn. We've got Q in Twitch, who's monitoring on every channel. Chase is on YouTube saying happy hump day. And I see all those messages in one place. Instagram, you are also here on a different camera. You can use the Q&A functionality. It works really well. The Q&A, although I'm going to press the button and hope, nope, still broken. TikTok's broken. I'm sorry. Q&A used to be great. We'd hit a button, the question would show up on screen, and we'd be good to go. That's not working, and it's very difficult for us to, especially me, to go through the chat. It's just so many people going through it so fast, it's hard to keep track of. So I don't. I rely on Q. So if you are watching and you want to make sure that you get seen, you could always jump onto trafficcop.ca. That's a website that takes you to our Volley app space. You can ask questions in our Q&A section there. Video, voice, or text, you can send it there. You do need to sign up for a free account, but it is free, and it is awesome. Okay, what do we have here? We'll talk about Vision Zero when we hit 10 o'clock, but let's get into a couple of... We're just getting ready with a couple of questions because it's only a couple minutes before we're back on the air. What is this? Okay, questions about police giving tickets with the wrong name on it. Do I have to pay it? Okay, we got that. We're just getting ready with a couple of questions to use on the air when we go back. Awesome. All right. Let's see where we are in the commercial break. Bring the volume down a little bit so we don't blow up the eardrums. Oh, looks like, okay, we leave them in the foreground because they've muted us. That's awesome. Perfect. And, is that Emma? Hey, Emma, how you doing? Welcome, Emma, one of our moderators. And she's busy helping out. Awesome to see you. What is going on here? We have some questions about visual acuity for police constable selection. We'll leave that until 10 o'clock. We'll get into some recruiting stuff and answer your questions about that. But if you don't pass, maybe we can hit it right now. What if you don't pass the medical exams for uncorrected vision standards of 20/40 acuity for police constable selection process? You might need to get laser surgery because that's what I did. I had vision that didn't meet the requirements without glasses, so I had laser surgery done so I would pass. And that's what most people do. So if you need vision as a requirement, then that's the only reason I'd get it. I've started wearing them again because it's been years and years since I've had the surgery, and I like super sharp vision. I'm kind of, over the top, needing to have perfect vision. It's just a thing I like. I don't like blurry. What can I say? And now I need reading glasses because I'm old, so I have to wear 2 different pairs of glasses. Yeah, getting old is suboptimal. Would you give a guy a DUI sitting in a car with a tow truck for 2 flat tires? Probably, because they probably drove drunk to get there with their 2 flat tires. So, yeah. Interesting question. Let's see here. Can you tint your headlights? No. I'm going through some stuff, but while we wait. And do me a favor. please don't spam. If you have if you have questions, you ask them multiple times. All you're doing is being disruptive in the chat, and you're probably going to get muted. We don't want to mute you. We want you to hang out and have fun with us. So please ask them once and only once.
Coming up.
Okay, here we go. We're going back on the air, and we got some questions to ask there. I see the one about Aunt passing away, so very sorry for your loss, and we'll talk about that on the air.
This is the Jerry Agar Show on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
Good to be with you, and Sean Shapiro is with us, the TikTok traffic cop, answering questions every day on TikTok and joining us every couple of weeks. Before we get to a couple of TikTok questions, Sean, just some quick text message response here. I had asked you, question person sent along, are bells mandatory on bicycles? And you said yes, and somebody wrote in, cowbells should be mandatory on pedestrians. So maybe that's...
that's not in law. It's a very interesting take on it.
Not in law yet. And the other was a serious question. Police officer pulls you over, says you were speeding. Can you say to the officer, I want to see the radar?
You can certainly ask. It's not a requirement for us to show you, and there's a number of reasons why. We don't want you coming out of the car to go look at the one that's mounted in my vehicle. And just because the screen has a speed doesn't mean that's the speed that I pulled you over for. I could take multiple readings. It's only the last reading that's still saved on screen. So seeing the screen doesn't provide anything. It's my testimony and my evidence that I'm providing. That's what the court's going to look at.
All right.
You can ask, and more often than not, I'll show you.
Okay, let's talk TikTok here. What are some questions?
Well, we just had someone say that my aunt died, and sorry for their loss, and the vehicle that she owned is in their name. What do we do with the vehicle? The estate would be able to transfer that vehicle, so the person who's running the estate, whoever the executor is, could transfer that and sell it or give it to you.
Okay.
That's ultimately the deal, but it has to be transferred at some point. That one is a new one for us. We've never been asked anything about that. Now, somebody else asked about, would you give somebody a DUI ticket for sitting in the car waiting for a tow truck because they have two flat tires? And we talked about that just before we came back, and the answer is probably, well, actually, yes, they'd be responsible still, even though they have flat tires, and they might be responsible for getting those flat tires because they were driving impaired.
So this is a person who's saying, so I was just driving along sober and I got a couple of flat tires, and while waiting for the tow truck, I decided to start drinking.
Well, that does complicate things. But if they were drunk when we got there, and they're responsible. They're in a car, and it's technically, even if it has flat tires, it's able to be driven, so they'd still be arrestable.
All right. Here is Barb from Mississauga. What's your question, Barb?
Hi, this is not earth-shattering. When I got my license, the inside lane was referred to as the curb lane. My grandson, when he got his license, the inside lane is the middle lane. How do you guys refer to it?
So we actually count from the center out, lane 1, 2, and 3, the curb lane being the outside curb, the outermost area.
So he's right and I'm wrong. Well, you just destroyed my argument.
I'm sorry I'm so sorry. But yeah, it's the curb lane because there's a curb there, and if it's an undivided highway, it's just a line in the middle, so yeah.
All right, Barb, this is not traffic related, but there comes a time when the next generation takes over, and you just got to deal with it, Barb.
I'm not ready yet.
Thanks for your call.
Take care.
All right. Here is Gary from Guelph.
Oh, sorry. Good day. How are you today?
We're well. Go ahead.
One quick observation. The province needs to do a better job at painting lines, especially in construction zones. My main question, I'm noticing actually people slowing down at a green light at intersections that are marked with a traffic cam, a red light cam. And I'm just wondering what is the best way to time that. You look at the pedestrian hand and the countdown, and so you're trying to time, am I going to need the brake? Am I not going to need the brake? What suggestions do you make in that regard?
So they're trying to slow down to avoid getting a red light ticket for running it. I mean, if we're balancing the probability of a ticket, the fact is you shouldn't be speeding. You should be driving appropriately, and the camera should only be a factor if you're breaking the law. So people who are changing there and having a lot of difficulty there are probably someone who's going to more than likely usually do the wrong thing and just wants to avoid the ticket. If you're just driving normally, you should have no problem.
All right,
I guess I'm wondering, people are slowing down even before there's a yellow, and those countdown clocks as you're coming to the intersection don't always work the same way. It usually gets to 0 and then turns yellow, but
sometimes they turn white again for walk. Those are indicators for pedestrians. They have nothing to do with you as a driver, although they're a hint that something might be happening. You should be driving and taking your cues from the actual traffic signal, not the pedestrian signal.
All right, Gary, thanks very much for that call. Here is Andrew from Guelph.
Hey, guys, morning.
Hi.
I have to settle something once and for all. When you come to an intersection, let's say you're coming to an intersection that is a throughway intersection, so there's traffic going back and forth, and you have your left signal on, so you're trying to turn left into traffic, and another car comes up and is going straight through that intersection. But the person who's turning left got there first. Who has the right of way there?
So we're talking about a throughway. So you have stop signs on either side, and it's a throughway. We've talked about this a lot. At the end of the day, you're both responsible for making your move safely. And if you have any question as to, regardless of who got there first, you're going to be looking at safety first. I hate to say it that way, but when you're making that left turn, you're crossing traffic. There's very little communication to the person on the other side. There's very little way of confirming. So my suggestion would be, regardless of what's right and who's got there first, it's easy to give right of way. It's hard to take it.
Now, this is almost like a follow-up, but it came in as text. If you're changing lanes on the highway, and several people are trying to change lanes, which car has more right? The right to left or the left to right?
So you're both changing lanes at the same time. You're both in a state of flux. Whoever's in the lane owns that lane. And really, you could say that the person who started first is going to be, safe. But while you're in between lanes, you're totally liable for what you're doing in your vehicle. You have to ensure that you can complete your lane change safely. The argument between who's changing lanes first is something I've never really spent time thinking about. But yeah, while you're in the midst of lane change, you're responsible for what happens. I mean, you're responsible for everything you do in your motor vehicle, but more so while you're making a move.
I would think you haven't thought about it because there's probably not a law there. It's just you're hoping at some point for some sort of common sense. I just assume if the other guy's trying to come into the lane, I might as well let him do it because it's not a contest.
Well, if you're talking about letting people, I got the impression the question was if you're both changing lanes simultaneously. But if someone's trying to change lanes, they're responsible, again, to make sure that they can complete that lane change. And you can't stop them from doing it. You can't accelerate to block them because that's getting into some aggressive driving.
Here is Todd from Kingston. Go ahead, Todd.
Hey, Jerry and Sean. I've been listening a while and haven't heard this one. It's a quick two-part question on seatbelts. I have a vehicle that was manufactured, I believe, before seatbelt laws came in 60 years ago. So first part, is it legal to drive without seatbelts?
Yes.
Okay, so the second part is somebody put aftermarket lap belts in. Can I take them out, or do I have to wear the aftermarket belts that were put in?
So I for one, like seatbelts, and I like the safety that they provide. If they were aftermarket, and I don't believe that you'd be prevented from removing them. I don't know if you'd want to. I mean, but for safety. But in terms of legally, that vehicle was manufactured without them. So it's according to its date of the manufacturer and VIN, it's not part of its equipment.
All right, Todd, thanks very much. So that vehicle being 60 years old, I think he had told us it is literally grandfathered in, and that's the only exception.
Yeah, exactly. If it predates the laws surrounding and emissions, same thing. If your vehicle didn't have a muffler back then, it doesn't need one now, despite that it upsets other people. The seatbelt thing, though, for people who have new vehicles, it's against the law to remove a seatbelt assembly.
Okay.
That's a different situation.
Sean Shapiro, the TikTok traffic cop. Thanks very much.
Always a pleasure. Take care.
This is the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
I got one fly. Where'd one fly come from? Okay, let's change our background because Jerry's face no longer needs to be on the screen. And that's some really different questions today. And none that I was really prepared for. Why? Because it's always a surprise on live TV and live radio and live TikTok and YouTube, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, some of those were really different, but always interesting. And I like to replay these and look them up and try and figure out What an interesting day. Thank you, News Talk. Take care. We'll catch you again. Okay, they just logged off, and it's just us. It's just us. Apparently, it's a video game. Isn't it? Just us? Or is that Follow Us or Become Us? What is that? Who plays that? I had a real fun thing. I saw a Twitter post, and it inspired something I wanted to do on the show. And maybe we can get you to do it in trafficcop.ca in our volley space. But I wanted to know what your first car, what was the first car that you ever drove? Like, that was yours. Not that you sat behind for 2 seconds, because I think the first car that I drove was technically on private property. It was a Ford Fairlane. It was really ugly brown, and it belonged to my best friend, Ashley. And I remember that, and it had only one mirror. So what's your first car that you ever drove? That was the first one I ever drove for a very short period of time in a parking lot. But the first car that I ever owned was a 1986 Buick Park Avenue, and it was burgundy. And I looked up a picture of it. I'm like, wow, did that bring back memories? And someone had said that their first vehicle was an old pickup truck. I'm really curious now. What was your first? A Pontiac 6000 STE. Oh, I loved that. I wanted that when I was in high school. One of my teachers had it, and they had worked for a tire company and had these double wide tires in the back. It was really cool. Challenger GT 97 Saturn. So interesting. Toyota Yaris. Is it Yaris or Yaris? Hang on a second. I need to pull up a screen so I can see all these. Otherwise, it's going to get really busy on that chat room screen for me. Boom, boom, boom. Going into the live here. Now, if you don't know who I am and you're watching, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service, and I go and do this whole live thing, answering your traffic and police questions all the time. It's kind of what I do, in addition to everything else that I do. Just saying. Why is it making me sign up? I don't want to sign up. Go away. Oh, wait, maybe I can do this. Use QR code. I'll do this. No, I won't. Okay, it's not working for me today. What do we got? Challenger GT, did we talk about that? Cadillac, we saw some Cadillacs here. Where's the Honda gang? A 76 Firebird, right on. I was supposed to and had planned to buy my uncle's Camaro. And he had dropped an 8-cylinder in it. It was originally a 6, and it was a stick shift. It was just everything cool. And it just never worked out. Never worked out. I'm going to look at some of these cars in a second, but in the meantime, I want to talk about Vision Zero Enforcement Team, because today they are in 23 Division and 41 Division. What does that mean? It means that they are augmenting the work being done by divisional officers throughout the city, and we pick different areas. I shouldn't say we. It's really the analysts, the big brain people who know exactly what's going on, where people need to be to change driver behavior through enforcement. And today they're in the communities, the neighborhoods of Rexdale, Jamestown, Martin Grove, Dorset Park, Kennedy Park, Birchcliff, and Cliffside. And that's actually not all of the divisions or neighborhoods they're in. They're traveling throughout those divisions. And those are just some of the ones that are most popular, the ones that spoke to me when I read them. Maybe we should change up the ones and represent other neighborhoods too. Morning from, is it Alex coming in from Twitch? I haven't seen you in a while, so your username, I don't know if I'm triggering the right memory. Chrysler Dynasty named Denver, a 1991. That was James's first car. 1963 Rambler, Michael, and Akila was in an 88 Colt Cutlass Supreme. Interesting. I miss some of my old cars, and not all of them were great. I had an old retired police car. What was it? It was the Caprice Classic. Yeah, that was a cool boat. Does anyone? I think that was a cool police car. It was like a spaceship of sorts. Okay, what do we have here? Do police see how fast you are going when they are going the opposite side of the street? So this is called oncoming traffic. Can we measure? So if we're driving and we have a moving radar set up in the vehicle, then yes, we can get you coming, going from behind or from in front of us. We have antennas on either side of the vehicles that are outfitted appropriately. If we have laser, then we have to be stationary, but we could get you coming or going. Can I still be a cop if I've exceeded 6 points? So here's the deal. Good driving is a good thing. And when you have bad driving behavior, or if you've made some errors, it could show a pattern of behavior. And we're asking you to enforce laws, so we're also asking you to respect them and follow them. So if you can't, then that might be an indication that you're not able to. Now, 6 demerit points could be 1 careless driving charge, which could be a simple collision that you are convicted of or chose to pay. And if that's the case, it's always possible that you could move past that. So things to think about. Speak to a recruiter. They'd be the best best people to speak to. You can get them by going to www.tps.ca/careers. www.tps.ca/careers. I'm like auto editing because I'm so used to saying www.torontopolice.on.ca/ and it's just, we're changing. We're getting with the times. We have short URLs and I have to adapt, and I'm just not there yet. Hi, I'm currently a youth in policing, which we call Yippee, located and placed at 12th Division. I'm hoping to join TPS as a police constable one day. Do you have any tips? So since we're on the trend of recruiting, and we are recruiting, we are currently hiring if you want to join, you know what? Stay in school, do the best job you can be, get into university or a college program. That would be a great way to go. Volunteer. You know, being committed to the community that you are wanting to serve is a huge indicator as to, you know, what kind of person you're going to be, and it gets you a lot of points. What else? Fitness is important. Stay fit. Once you get on, you can become broken like me and be less fit, but you really, fitness is huge, and it's important regardless. You want to be able to protect yourself and others, and you need to be physically fit to do that usually. Okay. Is there a fine for possessing e-cigarettes underage? I don't know. I would assume there could be, but I don't know. I'd have to look that up, and I don't got time for that right now. We'll come back to it later. Certainly consuming it in a vehicle with someone who's under the age of 16 is against the law. But in terms of possessing it, I don't think so. I don't know so. Okay. I got a ticket for speeding. I asked the cop to show me the radar reading. He didn't show me. Is that allowed? Yes. In Ontario, we're not required to show you the radar or a speed measurement device. It's not required. Do we? If you ask, you might, but you don't have to. Okay. What do we have here? Can someone get their license back after a DUI if they are waiting for their court date? Yes, I believe after they've completed the first suspension period, they can apply to have it reinstated. And then they might lose it again once they go to court, but you would get it back in the meantime. Can you legally drive if you're blind in your left eye? I don't think it matters. I don't think you have to have binocular vision. I believe that you can drive, but that would be a great drivetest.ca question. Now, to be a police officer, you have to have binocular vision, but if you were to lose your eye or lose vision in your eye after the fact, you'd still be a police officer. But when it comes to licensing, I don't think it's required to have binocular vision. But I could be wrong. Yeah. But this is, again, I'd go check their website. Does the radar gun show which car was speeding? Example, license plate number on the radar. Radar doesn't have a display or a camera that reads license plates, so no, it wouldn't. And laser devices, we actually have a scope. So I'll find a vehicle that I'm estimating its speed for, and then I'll confirm that speed by using the scope, and I'll actually pinpoint a portion of the vehicle, so I would know exactly which vehicle it is with a laser. But there's no computer, at least not in the stuff we have. Maybe there's technology available that does have that. We just don't have that. Okay. School season is coming up. Talk about when to stop for a school bus. Fantastic segue. I actually wanted to talk about that on the air, and it didn't happen. The deal is, and there's some changes, because now we have two-stage lighting on all school buses in Ontario. It's not required by law. So where we used to have blinking red lights and then a stop sign, we now have blinking amber lights and then blinking red lights and a stop sign. So what does it mean? Well, before the change in law, when you had a vehicle, a school bus, slowing down before a stop, they would activate their flashing lights. While the vehicle, the school bus, remained in motion, you didn't have to stop for it. You were able to continue and pass. But it was giving you an indication that it would be stopping shortly. And as soon as the vehicle stops, regardless of the stop sign coming out, once the school bus is not in motion, you have to stop for it in either direction. If it's undivided highway, both directions have to stop. Now, under the new system with two-stage, you have flashing ambers, at which point those are cautionary only, letting you know that they're about to change. That's a good time to slow down and change your velocity because a stop is imminent. So when it's flashing amber, you slow down, prepare to stop, or stop because you know what's coming. The red lights flash, then you have to stop. Absolutely, you can be charged for passing, and the stop sign will come out. But the stop sign isn't required to make you stop. The stop lights above are. Things you probably didn't know but should have. Because you know what? I thought that flashing lights while they were without stop sign meant that you could still pass. For the longest time growing up, that's what I thought. And I was corrected. All right. I want to go here. All right, let's keep on moving. We covered that already. Do drivers need to pull over? We covered that already. Okay, the police gave me a ticket with the wrong name on it. Do I have to pay it? If everything else is correct and just the name is incorrect, you can choose to pay it, and it'll be processed appropriately because your driver's license number is likely correct. If you choose to challenge it, could it be dropped? Possibly. If the evidence has it correct, if the driver's license, date of birth, and all other information is correct, it could be amended in court, which means that it depends on who's sitting on the bench as to whether or not you are convicted. That is the story. Did it work now? I think it worked now. I'm trying to get the feed on the big screen. Yeah, it's working this time. Okay, cool. I wanted to come back and see some of these. Where is it? Why can't I scroll? Why is it being like this? Maybe it'll update. Maybe it won't. Okay. I want to see more of the Pontiac, Montana. We used to have some, I think, Montana minivans in our enforcement unit. It's nothing like getting pulled over or pulling somebody over in a minivan. That really throws people for a loop. Okay, what's going on here? And there's a volley question. Thank you for the heads up. Okay, well, this is a question that came up earlier, and then we're going to play the volley question in just a second. Let me get the microphone ready.
How does TPS do speed enforcement on the Gardner when a good portion of it doesn't have a big shoulder or a place to sit and do LiDAR enforcement, I guess?
Okay. I don't know if you heard that. Let me play it again.
How does TPS do speed enforcement on the Gardner when a good portion of it doesn't have a big shoulder or a place to sit and do LiDAR enforcement, I guess?
So more often than not, if we're going to do speed enforcement on the Gardner, it's going to be moving radar. So we're going to be in a motor vehicle. We're going to be using the radar device as opposed to LiDAR. Could we do laser? Absolutely, we could do laser. We would do it in an area that had a shoulder because we'd have to find a place to stop. So options, there are many options, and my preference would be radar at that. And where do we actually stop you? We stop you where it's safe. We don't have to stop you immediately when we see you. We can stop you once it's safe to find a good place. Now, there was another question there was actually a big conversation about radar detectors and how come Amazon sells them. So Amazon, if you're watching, know that you can't sell them in Ontario. It's against the law to sell them, and your company can be charged for it because you can't sell them. You can't buy them, sell them, transport them, nothing. You can sell them outside of the province. So I've never tried to. Maybe I should try and buy one because I want to see if it'll actually complete the order based on my address. I would think they would have technology to be able to stop that, to prevent it and say that you don't qualify or that they can't ship it because they can't. It's against the law. So thank you for both of those questions. Let me turn down that. Aaron, you're welcome to join if you want to. No pressure. No pressure. She was not coughing for me to invite her. But Jerry Agar mentioned you on the air. He'd like to clarify the multitudinal these trees of parking signs that confuse people. He had issues. And by the way, we've got lots of hellos to Aaron in the chat.
I will come join.
Okay, peer pressure has worked. She's coming to join the show.
Yeah. I'm gonna go run in.
Yeah, do what you got to do. Come back. No worries. We are just early on the show, so we have 45 minutes. We can join you. Okay. See this. Thank you for all the support and peer pressuring my colleague there. Okay, I want to scroll back. What do we have here? Do I have to give consent for a police officer to search my vehicle? You don't have to. If it's a consent search, if we have no legal authority to search, if there's no authority granted by an act, then no, you don't have to. If there's a reason for us to do it and we are permitted to by law, then we will. We don't need your consent. That's a different situation. Additionally, if you're arrested, we do something called an inventory search, because if you're arrested, we're going to impound your vehicle for the protection of your vehicle and your stuff. So at that point, we do an inventory search to make sure that the gold bullion you have in your trunk is properly documented, so it doesn't go missing later, and then you say it was stolen. So it really depends on the situation. What is this? We've got questions about private property. What is that? Is it illegal to use your phone while driving, even if you've mounted it on the dashboard? It's not illegal to be on the phone, although the arguments are that it's still distracted driving, regardless of the fact that you may or may not be touching it. You can't interact with your phone other than a momentary touch to answer or hang up. And Tracy already caught that. Thank you, Tracy. The deal is that any extended use beyond that is going to be considered use, right? So you can answer, you can hang up, you can have it mounted and have your GPS on. That's permitted, but that's it. That is it. That is all. Let me see if there's any new questions here. And we just covered it, even though I didn't read it from there. So cool. And I covered that one, even though it wasn't right there. See, look at this. We're just on the same page. Do signs in a parking lot fall under the Highway Traffic Act? No. They're not regulated signs, private property, except for certain spaces which are, under different acts. Like TTC has enforceable things. Go Transit may have enforceable things under their act. But HTA, no, they're not. Are radar detectors illegal in Ontario? Yes, they are. They're illegal to sell, buy, transport, or use. And interestingly enough, it's a $170 fine. It does give us search and seizure authority. So if we believe that you have one, I say believe that you have one, then we are allowed to search your vehicle in search of that, and search anyone who's inside the vehicle in search for it. Because many people say, I just put it in my pocket. You can't get it. No, it doesn't work that way. Chase wants to know, under what situation would a canine come out on a traffic stop? If we believed there was something that whether it be guns or drugs, and could be a situation, or if the driver fled and we were trying to find them, we could call for canine to come. If, abandoned vehicle, that would be a good reason. And what do we have here? What do we have here? Got that. What happens to old police cars? Are they auctioned off or something? They are auctioned off. After a certain point in time, they do make it to public auction, and they are sold. And they're public auction, so we have nothing to do with it. So, you can't pick that cherry car for yourself. Mind you, we work our cars. I mean, they're 24/7 on the road, and that's real. That is real. I'm going to give Aaron some audio. Hello.
Hello, I'm here.
You are here.
I just had to plug my phone in because it's going to die. So actually, can I move over?
You do what you got to do.
I just don't, I won't be in the camera frame, right?
You're not anywhere near camera frame. You couldn't be further away from the camera.
Okay, good.
Let's see here. All right, we scroll down again. All right, what do we got here? And by the way, Aaron, how is your day going?
It's going good. I just got here. I wasn't here yesterday. It's been a weird schedule the last couple weeks. But I'm good today. It's a beautiful day. I'm going to go out on the road later on this afternoon and get on my bike for the first time in a couple weeks. So it's an exciting day. Wow.
Did you notice the change back here?
Yeah, they got the two screens now.
Yeah, you can't see it on TikTok. You can see it on Instagram. Maybe you have to change the angle for TikTok so you can see everything. But we have two screens, and I'm so excited about this. I bought a piece of tech at auction for like $20, and it allows me to stream the HDMI across to the other side of the room. And then I found in our storage unit an old piece of tech. It's an HDMI splitter that does that. Anyway, it's our old trade show booth thing, and I couldn't power it. Now I powered it. Now it's working, and I'm so excited. But the counter for how many followers we have is behind us. So it's 591,116, and then it's growing. It's ticking up.
Wow.
I offended some people, so they left, and then other people came, so it's cool.
You offend people? No.
I maybe I don't offend them. Maybe I just trigger some emotions occasionally. Yeah. I gotta move over my TikTok. If you're watching TikTok on anything other than an iPhone, I'm currently off center. There, no, I'm too much the other way. Let's see if I fixed it now. Did it work? It's like a delay of like 15 seconds.
No.
I can't. Okay,
move it back the other way.
All right. Things. Oh, here we go. What is this? Okay, Crystal says, some people don't like police officers. Some people do. If we see a police officer, can we stop them and thank them and give them something? I think stopping and thanking is the extent of what, we appreciate it. We really do. If someone wants to say thank you and says, we appreciate you, that's wonderful. Gifts we're not allowed to receive them, but it's just not necessary. We don't do what we do for kudos, for high fives are awesome, but gifts not required. Which is one of the reasons we turned off gifting here. When we first started on the platform, people were throwing money at us. All these gifts on TikTok, very, very nice, very kind. Money to charity as where it went, but we can't accept gifts. And Bike Cart is in the chat. Awesome. What do we got here? Emma's responding to Johnny Be Good. Is this a question? John? Oh, no, it's Johnny's asking Emma. What if speed limit sign is blocked by brush and trees and you get pulled over? What to do? Well, let me give you the answer, even though Emma may already be giving the answer. The deal is that if you have if I'm going to conduct enforcement in an area, I'm going to check in advance. If I had just happened to know that the highway is the highway and it's always the speed, regardless of the fact that the street sign is blocked, but you passed 3 of them before because I know the road, I'm still going to charge you. But that's just one street sign being covered. Now, if it's a small community area and you really had no idea, it's going to factor it. It really depends. Everything in law kind of depends. If you're getting a speed ticket from a traffic cam and there's no sign that there's a traffic cam, is it valid? Well, you're going to have to prove that there was no traffic sign. There are signs erected in and around all those that is required. That's something you could take to court and challenge because they're supposed to be there, but maybe you didn't see it. So go back, take photos, and if you really don't have any, if you have evidence that's time and date stamped that it happened, you might find yourself with a defense. But I've not seen any that were not signed, at least that I'm aware of. Maybe I've driven past one. Maybe I drove past the one you're talking about. Is there a maximum age for someone to become a new police officer? No, there isn't actually. We now can accept people anytime. When I went through, I was 38 when I switched over from courts to policing, and there was somebody who was in their 50s. So it's totally possible. Can a pedestrian be at fault for an accident or being hit by a vehicle or bike while crossing the street when the hand is up and counting down? So if the pedestrian or cyclist is crossing illegally or does something illegal, yeah, I've charged cyclists and pedestrians for causing collisions. They created the situation that caused the driver to hit them. It's not always the driver's fault. It drives me bananas when people try and blame the driver all the time. And there's a belief, which is false, that pedestrians and cyclists always have the right of way. There is no always, ever. There is sometimes it may be. So when someone is crossing the street on a green and they're lawfully in the road, they're legally supposed to be there, and a car is going to be required to do a number of things. In the event that someone runs out into traffic, that's not a situation that they'd be covered. So it really depends, and I can't give you a blanket answer. But when they are responsible, and that's my answer. We talk. Q, who are you talking to when you say why were they speeding?
If they got caught on camera?
I don't even know which question we're talking about now.
Should there be a sign? If there was no sign for the traffic cam, what should we do? So why were you speeding in the first place?
Context is everything. Yes. I have no sympathy for someone who gets caught by a traffic camera who's worried about were they warned. There should be no warning. If you go over the speed limit, you should be ticketed. But when we talk about the technicality of it, they're supposed to have a sign. But you're right. You are right. When an officer says, "You know why I pulled you over," what should I say? You don't have to say anything. You can say, "No, I don't know why you pulled me over. Why did you pull me over, officer?" These are things that even at the police college we say are not the right way to engage a conversation because it leaves room for confusion. Okay.
There's questions in private chat.
There are. Okay. Can citizens stop police officers? For help, yeah. For traffic enforcement, no. You have no authority under the Highway Traffic Act to enforce anything. But what do you want to stop them for? That's the real question. But again, flagging an officer down because you're a pedestrian in need of help or you're a driver in need of help, you're better off calling 911. But if you see one, you can certainly flag them down. Now, if you're doing it to because you're unhappy with them, know that there are things for that's what is it, criminal mischief, depending on what you're doing. You're using police resources for silliness. That could end badly for you. Do you need a driver's license to operate a front end loader in a construction zone on the highway? I don't believe you do in a closed construction zone. Sir, private parking companies issue crazy ticket without any reason. If you don't pay, what can be done? If you choose not to pay a ticket that is not a a ticket supported by law. It's just private property. They would have to enforce it through small claims court. They'd have to, if it's a school situation, like universities will not let you graduate if you don't pay your fines. They have ways.
And you become a scofflaw on certain parking lots, and if you get another ticket, you can be automatically towed, from my experience.
Even if it's private property?
If it's private property. But like, for an example, when I used to work at Ryerson, we would have to, it was private property when we wanted parking enforcement, which it's funny now that I am parking enforcement. We would have to call parking enforcement to come, but we would have our own system and database of offenders, and if it had been more than like 2-3 times, then yeah, we would request to get them towed automatically.
Nice.
In private property, so yeah.
And that's actually a pretty impressive investment, because private property would require the school or company to pay for that parking, for that towing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah, and if they're willing to pay to get you out, you know you're a problem. Or at least they see you as a problem.
It didn't happen often, but it happened a time or two.
Hello from Washington, D.C. Well, hello, Washington, D.C. I've been there. I found a $100 U.S. bill in front of the Lincoln Memorial. Just wow. Walking by. I drove all night. I literally drove all night with a buddy of mine. We just went there. And I wanted to see the police memorial, and we just had, we got time on our hands. Let's go somewhere. It's a long time ago. But I found $100. I paid for my gas back then because gas was cheap. It was really cheap for gas.
I've also been there. It's a beautiful, beautiful city.
I want to go, and I've never been for the police week in Washington. I think that's something very cool. Question, what do we have here? Question is, what happens to people who make false allegations? Well, potentially they could be liable from a number of ways. They could be criminally liable for mischief. They could be, liable in civil court if they're sued. Like, there's a whole bunch of risk there. False allegation, bad. Don't do that. That's just bad. Potentially criminal, but why would someone do that? I don't get it. I don't understand the motivation. Proud to be Australian. Followed me. Well, thank you for following us. And I was just talking to somebody in Brisbane. There's an app called Wisdom, or the Wisdom app, that I was invited to use, and I've been playing around with it. It's very cool. It's very Clubhousey in terms of Clubhouse being an audio-only app. This is as well. And you can talk to people and have conversations, and it all gets recorded, and it becomes a podcasty kind of a platform. It's really neat. So if you haven't checked out the platform, if you haven't checked out Wisdom or heard about it, it's really new. Check it out. You can also follow me and come say hello there. Nicole Black, what is this? No, it's at Nicole Black. Okay.
Here's a question for Aaron.
Oh, I see. Okay. Go ahead, Aaron. Question.
What? Delayed payment to a parking ticket. Are there interests, and how long do we have until it gets to a point that we get summoned?
So yes, considering the city has taken over the processing of parking tickets, so I believe it's within 15 days if you do not pay or appeal it, that is when the ticket can begin. Wow, I really did not put that sentence together well. That is when you can start gaining interest on said ticket. There we go.
I wonder if they do that with anything else. I think it's only parking offenses that you can get interest, because I don't think we charge interest on any other offense.
Yeah, it's because the whole processing of it changed, and it's now considered a violation as opposed to, or parking fine as, you know what, I'm just going to stop.
Yeah. We'll try again tomorrow.
Yeah.
Red light cameras also have interest too, sir.
And that's because of the city thing.
The city program as well, yeah.
Makes sense.
Thanks, Q.
Question of, what is the fine for having a radar detector? Or it's not just radar detector, it could be jammer. It's anything that interferes with speed measurement or the ability for us to enforce speed. That is going to be $170 and 2 demerit points. And did I mention search and seizure authority? So you lose your device. So if that's a $1,000 toy, it also has to be removed right then and there. It's not one of those things, send us a picture that you took it off. No, we take it. If a semi, a truck, big 18-wheeler, or concrete truck rear ends a vehicle on the highway who didn't give them enough space to stop or slow down, what can the driver do? So if someone cuts you off, it's an unsafe maneuver, right? They need to give you the appropriate space. So while you may be rear-ending them, hopefully you have some dash cam footage, because that's a big deal. It's always better to have dash cam footage rather than simply say, well, they cut me off, because of course they're going to say, no, I didn't. People don't realize how much space and how much weight is being moved with these major and enormous vehicles. In most cases, I would be charging the driver who cut you off. But you tell police what happened, and hopefully you have dash cam. That's my sincere hope. All right, we got stuff here. So the question of there was a question I liked, and I started looking at it. When an officer says, I pulled you over, we covered that. And Tracy very appropriately says, from my experience, if you know, then own up to it. If you get pulled over by police, more often than not, if you're simply honest with us, that's the best way to interact. Absolutely. I was going to say that you should win a Harley, but somebody already won. I got to update my ticker, which I haven't been running. But the ticker would say, you could go to harleyraffle.ca, but that's all done. It's finished. Somebody's the happy owner, and it wasn't me. I was really disappointed. Legitimately disappointed. I wanted to win that Harley. But there's next year. I'm sure there's going to be next year. Okay. What is this? Oh. Let me scroll back. Are dash cams that important? Yes. If you want to have an independent witness as to what happened, dash cameras play a vital role, because what happens when you give a statement and it differs from the other person and there's no independent witness? Well, your insurance company is likely, if there's no specific evidence to point to one person over the other, may decide that you're partially at fault, even if you weren't. That video evidence is going to give you the impartial, vital evidence to support what the claim is. It could also hurt you. So there's that. Very, very important, in my opinion. Scrolling back. The sign has the max speed limit posted, but what is the minimum speed? Eddie, that's a great question. There is no minimum speed unless posted. There is, however, something called unnecessary slow driving, and that's going to be somewhat objective. The officer is going to be looking at what's happening, what's the road speed, what's going on. It's not unnecessary road speed if someone's doing 20 under and that's 40 below what everybody else is doing because other people are choosing to break the law. But if you're doing 80, let's say you're doing 60 in the left lane, I'm going to say you're unnecessarily driving slow. If there's nothing ahead of you like traffic or a reason, if your vehicle doesn't work properly, get off the road. If it's only capable of doing 60, you shouldn't be on the highway, in my opinion. And if you are going to be going slower than the speed of traffic, stay to the right, because that's reasonable. But there is no specific minimum speed. Okay. Official Prime Drink wants to know about Messi or Ronaldo.
I saw that.
Is that a soccer thing?
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think Sean follows
I don't follow sports.
Soccer.
No, I don't follow any sports. I follow the only sport, and I don't even follow it, but I used to compete as a marksman, as in IPSC and whatnot. I used to love shooting on a regular basis. I don't do that anymore, at least not regularly. And soccer, I can appreciate people running around kicking a ball, but I'm not into it. But I know who Ronaldo is only because that's Cristiano Ronaldo, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I know him because he did a YouTube video. See, there's a social media contact or context. I understand then.
Also, someone complimented the studio. Your setup is fantastic.
Awesome, thank you. And now it's even better that I have two screens behind me that you can't really see on TikTok. But you know what? We're going to change. We've put in a business plan to change our space and go into a closed environment. Because right now, when someone walks by with a dolly, making all sorts of noise, we hear it. So we're trying to get into an area where it's a little more private. So that might happen. Liberals International coming in from Facebook with some emojis. Hey, how's it going? And Akela just said, my name isn't William. I guess I didn't win the Harley. Next year I will. William will. Again, maybe. I don't know. Cool. What do we got here? What is the best way to prevent auto theft? Okay. Auto theft is there's no way to absolutely prevent auto theft, whether it be any kind of theft. You try and make your vehicle or whatever you're trying to protect less interesting by making it more difficult. So physical things like from the 80s, the club that everyone laughs at, that's a physical deterrent that might make someone steal the car next to yours instead of yours. Obviously, no theft is better than any theft, but if you're trying to protect your vehicle, doing anything to make it less attractive and easy to steal is what you want to do. RFID blockers, hidden ignition switches or fuel pump switches. Or one person actually said, take the fuel pump relay out, pop the hood, pop it out. No one's going to take your vehicle because no one's going to transport spares for 20 different brands in their back pocket. And these are all legitimate possible solutions, but if someone really wants your wheels, they'll bring a flatbed truck and just take it. So you do the best you can to make your vehicle less attractive. Some people, well, actually, this is one of my favorite suggestions, and it's not a car suggestion, it's a bicycle suggestion. So a long, long time ago when I was 15 years old, I was so into mountain biking and biking that I would rather have had a bicycle than a car. So for all the people who think I hate bicyclists, you're so wrong. I was an avid cyclist, and now I just drive more. But what's the point of my story? The owner of the bike shop in Thornhill that I bought the bike from had a killer bike himself, which happened to be white with green polka dots. It was a silly expensive bike, but he painted it himself to make it the most unattractive bicycle known to man. And he did that because he could care less if he locked it or not, because no one would steal it. So what I'm really trying to say is, if you have a Ferrari, you should paint it white with green polka dots, and no one will take it. Oh, yes. But for bicycles, it worked. He didn't lock it ever. He just dropped it wherever it was, and he went back, and it was always there, because it was a really god-awful paint job. And if you're listening, hey, how's it going? Been 20-plus years. How long has it been? Oh, my God. It's been a long time. What do we got here? Boom, boom, boom. I hate this refreshing business. Okay. I saw a question here we talked about. Do you need to have your physical license with you, or could you show the officer pictures of both sides? You must, according to law, surrender your actual real deal driver's license upon demand of a police officer. So if I stop you and I say license, ownership, and insurance, and you don't have it on you, get charged for failing to surrender your license. A photo does not meet the requirements under law. What is this? Talked about that. And so I'm a photographer for first responders. We can listen to police radios. So I used to have a scanner. Years ago, I could listen to OPP, Toronto, Fire. I think I could listen to York. And what's happened over the last number of years is encryption. It's all data. It's all electronic. And encryption means you can't hear anything. There's no way to get a scanner here. Some places may have it. Some small forces might have it. But generally speaking, it's a no-go. What do we got here? You are a long-term police officer. Do you have a service medal? You are wearing no ribbon. I am. So I wasn't a police officer my entire career, but thanks for saying I'm old, Robert. No, I am. So I am. I've been a member of the service for 23. What year is it? It's 22. So 22. Just in the midst of 22 years. I joined in 2000. I was a volunteer as an auxiliary member. I very quickly became a paid member as a court officer. I did both of those until 2012, and then I became a cadet. So 2013, I graduated as a police officer. So I don't have a long service medal for the auxiliary. I don't have a long service medal for court officer or special constable, and I don't have a long service medal for police constable. And I probably never will, because I would have to complete like X number of years in each rank or each role, because it's not just rank, but different roles altogether to qualify, which really bugs me. So thanks for making me. I've had this conversation a few times, which is why I've got an answer for it. My understanding was it used to be that if you were a court officer and you became a police officer, your years of service as a court officer would qualify towards your medal. I believe that's changed, and I don't qualify anymore. So I don't know if I'll ever have my long service medal. Depends on how long I want to work. You're in the Netherlands. Very cool. Okay. Oh, no, the question is, are you in the Netherlands or are you in Newfoundland? I think that's the question. All right. What's the best way to get community service if you want to become a police officer? Holly, the answer is any which way you can. It doesn't matter if you volunteer for community center, religious center, retirement home, any place that you are giving of yourself for free to support the community. There's so many good places to volunteer, so many places that need your help. And being a volunteer really makes a difference in the lives of the people that you're servicing. Now, there's other ways to do it. You can become a member of the Toronto Police Auxiliary or any police auxiliary, which I did. I did that for many years, and I was at 12 and a half years as an auxiliary. Best volunteer opportunity ever, as far as I'm concerned, because you can help people in all different areas when you are available, and it's just awesome. You get to get some training, a uniform. It's cool. How lenient are you with first offenders fail to stop at stop sign, community safety zone? Here's the deal. I've given people breaks. I've given people reduced tickets. I've given people the opportunities, and I've also been burnt by that. I pulled over one guy in 12 Division for an offense, and I don't recall what the offense was, but he said, listen, I'm just going to pick up my mom. It's this whole big story, and times are tough, and I'm really sorry. And I said, you know what? I'll give you a break. But guess what? Almost a year to the day later, I pulled the same person over. And everything that was wrong then, it was still wrong. And they gave me the same story. But I remember, so they got charged. And I stopped being as free-giving with warnings and passes. So if you did a couple of things, you know, and the more serious thing was something that I could potentially not charge you for and charge you for the lesser thing, sometimes people got that. But someone was you had to get a ticket, because I believe that you need to have some documented occurrence of what happened. And in my evidence would be that I chose not to charge you for the one thing, but I charged you for another, because I would be very transparent, so that if anyone who was reading or having an interaction with you at a later date would at least be able to follow the chain. But am I doing you a service? There's been articles saying that there are people on the road today who should not be on the road, but because officers reduced their tickets to not carry demerit points, they weren't suspended, and they could have prevented, where was I reading this? Because I think it was talking about the fatal deaths, people who actually kill other people on the road. Many of them should not have been licensed, and it was only because they managed to get out of tickets that would have suspended their license years before. So it's very interesting, and I'm obviously not quoting directly, but it's giving you the gist of what I read. And it is fascinating. The idea of tickets is to change behavior. If someone doesn't get their behavior changed through a ticket, and they get points, and they get continuous points, then they lose their license. But that's what's supposed to happen, because the person who doesn't know how to drive or chooses to throw caution to the wind and put lives at risk, they shouldn't be on our roads, because they're making the roads unsafe. They're making them dangerous. They're not making them safe. Yeah, okay. Okay. Do you stop cars that go 9 kilometers over the speed limit? Sure. If they're in a 30 zone, if they're in a low speed zone, 9 kilometers is a considerable limit over. Someone was on YouTube making a comment saying that 26 kilometers an hour in a 20 zone is offensive to stop a cyclist, because there was someone charged for speeding 6 kilometers over. That's 30% over the posted speed limit. And if you're doing 40 and a 30, what does that work out to? 25% over the speed limit? 26%? What's the actual math? Or is it why am I got a calculator here. I did it earlier. I made notes. Oh, so no, I didn't make notes. Well, 15 over and a 60 is only 25%. So what's 10 over? I can't believe I can't do this in my head right now. 33%. So 10 over is 30. So the deal is that if you're going, it's the percentage over the speed limit that's interesting. It's not like 10 kilometers isn't 10 kilometers isn't 10 kilometers. 10 over on the highway is less offensive than 10 over in a 30 or 40. In any case, yeah, I would stop someone over for 9 kilometers over the speed limit. Even if I didn't charge them, I would stop them to have the conversation as to what's going on. Why do you not respect the speed limit? Can police officers ticket other officers for speeding? Well, police officers are permitted to legally speed. They're allowed to, while on duty, in the lawful execution of their service or duties, they're allowed to speed. And there's a lot of reasons why we do. But we could technically lay the charge, and I've heard of stories where fire engines were impounded for stunt driving, like all sorts of stuff. Why does everybody in the 401 drive faster than 120? Because they're all breaking the law, and they think it's okay because there's not enough enforcement. And if everyone got a ticket, they'd slow down. That's why I think they're going faster, because there's just not enough enforcement, and people seem to not care anymore. So what should happen? More enforcement. Okay. What if it's been 2 months since I accidentally hit a sign? I'm not really sure what you're saying. Are you saying that you hit a sign, failed to report it, and are now on the run from the police, and you don't want to be responsible for it? Or what do you mean? Does a traffic cop have to be visible when giving tickets with radar? No, we can be totally hidden. We can be in the bushes. We have to be visible to pull you over because you won't see us otherwise. But yeah, we don't have to be out in the open wearing a flashing sign.
Someone from the Korean community wants to know, can you reintroduce yourself?
Absolutely. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service. I am an officer assigned to traffic services in the role of media relations officer and social media officer. I work in traffic safety programs, so it's an education branch of what we do. I do the education, other people do the enforcement. It's a great team effort. But I am a police officer, and I'm in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So hopefully that answers whatever question was being asked and requiring me to reintroduce myself. Okay. Apparently, do you want me to speak a lot slower and say that again? You know the answer to the question, because apparently the question was not being asked in English. I did not realize. Okay. What I'm really looking forward to is the technology change, that everything I say is translated into every language simultaneously, because that would be cool. Jelly Beans says, good morning, officer. Well, good morning to you, Jelly Beans. Let's see here. Someone followed me, and their username is pretty funny, but I'm not going to read it. Okay. Moving along.
Where do you patrol so I can avoid you?
I don't. You're very lucky, because I imagine there'd be a lot of unhappy people if I was on the road right now, because I write a lot of tickets. I do write a lot of tickets because I care about what people do on the road. It's an unpopular thing to give tickets, but I don't have to be popular. So I don't patrol, so you're all very lucky. But then again, if you're following my channel, you're probably following the law too. It's the guests who might not be. We talked about this. Hang on a second. I seen aircraft patrol when I was on a road trip. How does that work? Christian, that's an excellent question. We talked about it once before, but you probably weren't here. Otherwise, you wouldn't ask the question. But the deal is there's markings on the road. This is a very common way of doing speed enforcement in areas that are difficult, like in highways and in mountain regions, things like that, where there's so many curves. In any case, the speed is determined based on the time it takes you to get from marking 1 to marking 2. Someone in a plane will be monitoring with a stopwatch, and they will radio down to somebody on the road who will then stop you and say, you were observed doing X, Y, and Z, and here's your ticket. I see. Oh, here's a question from, is it Phased? I always see many vehicles without front license plates. I thought that's not allowed. It's not allowed. Many people have a strange love for their front bumper, and they don't want them to have any kind of adhesive material or screw holes in them. Yeah, so they choose not to put them on because they don't think it looks cool. In Ontario, if your vehicle is registered here, it is required by law to display both your plates. You cannot put them in your front windshield. That is not appropriate and not what is described in the Ontario regulations. Front of the license plate. Is it regulations, or is it just in the HTA proper? In any case, the law says you got to have it on the front of the vehicle. Front of the vehicle actually means the front, not the windshield, which is about 40 to 60% into the vehicle, depending on what you have. You can use a tow hook adapter if you really have to. You can use zip ties if you want. It just has to be in the front of the vehicle. The rear plate has to be illuminated, so it changes or reduces your options of moving it from where it was originally intended to be. What is this? What do you do when your bike is overheating on the highway in traffic and you ride the shoulder? No, you can't. You can break down on the shoulder. You can pull off to the shoulder because you're about to break down as a preventative thing. You can pull off the highway and have a coffee somewhere, but you cannot ride the shoulder. There's no legal exemption for that offense, which it is an offense to ride the shoulder. What is this? No need for tickets. The blue line saves you from the same rules. Your quota hires. Well, Tommy, you're being silly. But Tommy seems to think that we have quotas, which we don't. And this blue line business, if we find cops that are breaking the law, we investigate and charge cops who break the law. So the suggestion is silly. What do we got here? Just reading back. I need a camera on my head. You do not need a camera on your head. What are we if we're talking about motorcycles, don't put a camera on your head. Cameras on your body, cameras on your vehicle. If you're a motorcycle operator, rider, person, don't put cameras on your head. It actually turns your vehicle or your helmet into an improper helmet, and you can find yourself being charged for improper helmet. Why are the OPP generally more strict than the York Regional Police? The truth is, it depends on every officer. I'm very strict. Other officers may not be. It depends on who you're speaking to and how learned they are when it comes to speed enforcement, or not speed enforcement, but traffic enforcement. Not everybody is a traffic person. So I love the memes and the videos where they talk about, depending on what glasses or hat or haircut the officer has, will be a good indicator as to whether or not you're getting charged. Not every interaction has to result in a ticket, but very often, if it's an egregious offense, it's going to end up in a ticket. But again, I don't think one service is more or less strict. I think each officer is individually different, because they are. What are we talking about here? Do officers usually pull people over for going 125 on the 404? 404 is OPP, but I would hope so. 125 is 25% over the speed limit, and it's a highway. I've certainly charged people for doing 20 and 25 over on the Don Valley Parkway, which is a 90-kilometer zone. Don't break the law. Bad. What is this?
I have a question here for you.
Sure.
Does my son need a booster seat? He is 80 pounds and 10 years old. I say yes. My wife says no.
Legally, 8 years old, 80 pounds, or 4'9", legally does not require a booster seat anymore. Safety says otherwise. If your child is small in stature and doesn't meet I think it's a 5-point check that is suggested, where if they sit without the booster seat and their back is touching the back of the seat, does your child's knees bend at the appropriate place so they're not sticking straight out? There's a bunch of different things, and I can't remember all of them right now because it's not a legal thing, it's a suggested thing. That would be the difference. So my nephew, who recently turned 8, he's not. I would still keep him in a booster seat because he's just not that much taller than my kid, who's also in the same area of age and doesn't need to. It still benefits from being in a booster seat. So for their safety, yes. For legally, they don't have to. I can't figure out what your username means. Sean, how long can you see a driver's abstract on your cruiser computer? Well, we have 2 things. We can actually go directly into the Ministry of Transportation and get your full abstract. But otherwise, we just look at the things that were relevant to our interactions. So if I pulled you over at Toronto Police, we'd see all your Toronto Police interactions, but we can actually look up your full abstract. I'm 20 and have had my license since I was 16. I've been pulled over 10 times. Congratulations. I don't know if that's a badge of honor if you're confessing, but you're probably doing some things wrong, and you should change what you're doing so that you don't hurt somebody. If someone gets pulled over for speed after being good for 4 years, would you give them a break? Depends on what the offense is. If you're doing 20 over in a 40, no, probably not. You're probably getting the full thing. If you're doing 20 over in a 60, probably not. If you're doing 20 over, you know what? If you're doing 20, it depends on what you're doing. If you're doing 5 over, probably wouldn't pull you over. But if I pull you over, you're probably getting a ticket. Okay.
Can you change the angle of your mic, sir?
How would you like it? This way? So
Yes.
I'm speaking right over it? Okay.
Thank you.
Too many plosives? I take it as a yes. Why do you guys close the Jameson exit every time, even if traffic is calm? It's not me closing it. Many of us would like it to be open because we appreciate being able to get on the highway without going all over the place and adding long waits to our traffic.
Yeah.
Just not like it. Yeah. But it's not us. It's the city. And for whatever reason they do it, I don't get it. Apparently there's a reason, but it's not my thing. Okay. Full G Burlington. Hey, from Burlington. How you doing? What are we talking about? There are small issues. Okay, the conversations that I'm jumping into. Follow the host. No need for ticket. No, we got that person already. I always find it interesting when people have all these negative theories, all the bad. Here. What website can we go on to request our own driver abstract for insurance purposes? I don't know if it can be done online. Whenever I've had an abstract ordered, it was in person. So I would talk to the MTO because they will be able to direct you. Okay, questions. Just checking here to see if trafficcop.ca or our volley space has any questions. I don't see any. What do we have here? Chase says, fun fact, most front windows on cars leave the factory with 25% light blockage. That means barely any tint is legal on the front. Interesting. According to that PSA1 identifier, it means that it's clear. It means there's no tint because you can't tint front. Now, there's some glass, I don't know if it's PS1 or PS2 or something else, is actually a designation as to how much light's coming through. So I don't know, Chase, if that's accurate. It might be. It could be a UV coating that prevents 25% of UV rays getting through. But I don't think that you can, that they can have any tint into it. Certainly not a coating that's added afterwards. And you can't put any on there anyway. Are we talking about front window? Did you mean the passenger and front passenger and front and driver, or were you talking about windshield? I assumed you were talking about windshield. In any case, TPS patrols all of Toronto, best stay away. What are we talking about? New York Times 2022? I don't know what we're talking about there either. All these conversations that I'm feeling like I'm left out. Okay. There is Chase says you can order your abstract online, and Q has a ontario.ca/page/get-driving-record. I'll actually put that on screen for the folks on YouTube. Because apparently, and the other one, just not a hope, because there's another one that's like 6 pages of gobbledygook. Chase was talking about passenger and driver, but the source is Carrie Schmidt, so I have to check the facts. Carrie's awesome, but I have no idea what he's referencing because most of the windows that I see are clear. Okay, I'll hide this again. Cool. We covered this, we covered that. I'm going through stuff. What is this?
I answered yes to this question.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's correct, but just to double check. Hey, I'm buying a moped. Do I need to have my M1 in Ontario? So like a Vespa. Yeah. Yeah, right?
Motorcycle license required.
Yeah.
Now, back in the day, mopeds were, you could drive them with a G license, but that changed, I think, in 2008, where you needed to have a license, a motorcycle license. What is this? Red, blue. I see something about red and blue. Rate your police carrier, coming from someone who wants to join rate your police, I think you mean career, but it says carrier. So my police career has been an amazing adventure. I've done all sorts of different stuff, and that's the whole thing about being a police officer is that it's one career with many different jobs. So since joining in 2000, I was a volunteer. I was a special constable court officer. I was a sergeant with the auxiliary. I was a supervisor within courts. I became a police constable. I worked in a division doing primary response. I became a traffic officer. I came to traffic services and became a citywide traffic officer. I became a motor squad officer. I worked in the Criminal Investigation Bureau. I worked for headquarters in strategy management, doing stuff and things. I came back to traffic. I got into traffic, I guess, supporting the media officer. I became a media officer. I've done so much. It's been the best 20 plus years of my life. Then again, before that, I was in computers and technology, and it was totally different. But tomorrow could be totally different again. If I got bored, I could do something different, and that's amazing. That's unique to policing because I don't think there's any other profession that has so many unique opportunities. So if you're thinking about something amazing, and you say you are, check out www.tps.ca/careers. Get information about becoming a member of the service. We're hiring right now. Okay. I see a comment from Michaela. I got it. Okay. So Lisa Hamilton says they expect so many encounters with the public per hour, he won't admit it. Are we talking about
quotas?
Quotas. There's no quotas. There's no encounters per hour. I don't know where people get this stuff. We have an expectation to do an honest day's work, and if that is one investigation that takes the entire day because that happens, then so be it. There's no. I don't lose points. Okay, yeah, because we only have like 3 minutes left. Sergeant Campbell came by and he says, I'll come on the show tomorrow. Because he
Welcome back to him. That's the first time I've seen him.
Yes.
In a couple weeks.
Yes. Oh, it's awesome. He was traveling. He's got a tan. Yeah. We'll have to get him to come on the air and actually show off his tan because his lid is less red than mine. It's more, yeah. Okay. My friend's windshield is tinted and we live in Ottawa and cops, what does it say? It's scrolled. And I'm going to assume, although I can't scroll back, that they didn't get a ticket or they haven't had a problem. You've been lucky. If you pass by me, I'd pull you over and give you a ticket because it's illegal. And it's unsafe. I'd actually pull your license plates and you would be walking home. Or maybe you take an Uber. I don't think anybody walks anywhere anymore. We're like a species that doesn't need legs anymore. What is this? How can I meet a canine? Well, it depends. If you're running from the police, that might be one way. And then alternatively, you can also, at fun days and events where we come out is an opportunity. They're not dogs that want to be pet. You don't get to interact with most of them. Okay. How do I renew my license plate sticker online? If you googly-goo the question of MTO license plate renewal, because there's no sticker anymore. They don't issue them. They don't issue stickers anymore. It's also free for most vehicles to renew, like light trucks and personal vehicles and motorcycles. Free to renew, no sticker. It's all done online. But if you don't do it, you do get a ticket. And if you don't pay your fines, you can't actually renew it. So there is stuff. If all plates and frames are illegal, now that there's no more stickers on plates, when is that enforced? All the time. We issue tickets for that all the time. Now, do we issue tickets to everybody? No, because license plate frames are less of an issue than tinted visors, and so it's going to be based on the observations of the individual officer and what they determine is an issue. When can you remove stickers of the stickers on your plates now that we don't need them? Well, whenever you want. As long as your plate is valid, you don't need a sticker on it to reflect that validity. What is this? Keshkabo? I don't know how to pronounce your username. Not for electric moped from what I heard. Well, if it's an electric moped, it's not a moped, it's an e-bike. And if it's an electric moped that's capable of going beyond 32 kilometers an hour, so here's the designation. If it's an e-bike, which is effectively an electric moped, but it's an e-bike that is limited to 32 kilometers an hour, not capable of combined you pedaling and going beyond 32 kilometers an hour on a flat surface, and it doesn't have anything more than a 500-watt motor, and it's not more than 120 kilos, and so on and so. There's a bunch of parameters. If it meets the qualifications for e-bike, it doesn't require a license of any kind. Period. No insurance, no nothing. If it goes 33 kilometers an hour, it has a 501-watt motor. If it's more than 120 kilos, that is instantly a motorcycle requiring a motorcycle license. Let's see here. If you have more questions about that, happy to talk about it, to discuss. Can you have your insurance license or on your phone, or do you need a physical copy? So, insurance can be electronic copies if your insurance company provides such through an app. Photos of it do not count. Can you have your insurance? So yes, and license on your phone? No, you have to have your physical license, and your registration must be either the original physical registration or a photocopy, a true copy front and back. Where are questions coming in? Oh, questions coming into a different, it's a different volley. I'm in a number of different volley groups. I love volley. It's actually really cool. Okay. What is this? Electronic assisted pedal bikes, emo bikes, no, others, yes. I'm losing the context here. So the deal is that in what's it called? A pedelec, which is an assisted pedal bike, no license, no insurance, no nothing, as long as it conforms. Actually, all of them, they must conform. They have to have pedals. They have to have, and meet the 120 and the. I'm going to start suggesting people weigh e-bikes. I bet you there's a lot of violators that are over 120 kilos. And there's a lot of violators there's bikes that go 60 and 80 or 90 kilometers an hour. Those are full-on motorcycles. By the way, though, because they require insurance, if they don't have insurance, the offense for driving without insurance is $5,000 to $25,000 and up to 6 months in jail. Is it worth it? I don't think so. Not to mention if you hurt someone that you're going to be personally liable. Is it legal to be pulled over for giving a cop the finger? Well, we don't pull people over for the finger. We pull people over to find out if they're licensed, if they're inebriated. Like if you're giving the cop the finger, maybe you're drunk or high. Because who does that? Why would you be so rude anyway? Yeah. So if you're doing something like that, it could be an indicator that you are under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Because that sounds like something someone who's under the influence of drugs or alcohol would do. And at that point, I'm investigating you for that reason, not because you gave me the finger. What is this? Bruce wants to know, so as long as you have a copy, physical license, insurance can be on the app, and a physical copy, either a photocopy or original of the permit. With USA, can someone with a USA driving permit drive in Canada? When you say driving permit, do you mean driver's license or do you mean learner's permit? If you have a driver's license, yes, you can drive in here. If you have a full license or a license that allows you to drive without a supervising driver present, then yes, you could. If you have a learner's permit, like what would be a G1 where you have to be supervised by a fully licensed driver, then you could not. A Goldsmith is making something. I have no idea what that is. For booster seat, they no longer need it if they are 80 pounds, 8 years old. What about height? 4'9". That's the answer. So requirements to get out of a booster seat would be 8 years old, 80 pounds, or 4'9" on height. And by no means is that a suggestion. That's just the legal minimum to be out of the seat. I would keep them in there as long as possible. A booster will only help to keep them safe. And backseat until the age of 14, although it's not a law, it's a suggestion. Okay. Why do I have to wait 2 to 3 weeks to receive the driver's license? Why don't they have machines to print them? That is a fantastic question. I have no idea. Since the beginning of time, they gave you a green piece of paper and they mailed it for you into you like later. There you go. Emma says 4'8" to Kathy, but I don't know what 4'8" is. 4'9". 4'9" is the height. Do you think you would catch me on a foot chase? That's why they give me cars. Also, right now, no, because I'm still recovering from an injury. But I'm surprisingly fast in a sprint, or was prior to my collision. Yeah, my cousin's a cop in Michigan, and he is a shorter version of me, but he's a stocky big guy, football player, and he had a guy run on him, and he chased him and tackled him and took him down and arrested him. And he says, "So why'd you run?" He says, "Well, I thought I could get away," and he was wrong. Yeah, but I've not actually had someone run away from me. I think they made good decisions because that would have ended badly. Don't make me run. High beam enforcement. Yes, we do that. TikTokaholic. I like your username. Oh, scrolling up. Why, that refresh thing drives me bananas. Okay. Rob thinks I lied to you because I said that we would pull you over in line. So, Rob, no, I'm not lying. We're allowed to stop any motor vehicle to check on your license, your status, to make sure you're licensed. I can check to make sure you're insured, and I can check to make sure you're sober. And I'm just saying that the behavior of giving your free constitutional protected speech, according to you, would be an indicator that you could be behaving in a way that could be drugs or alcohol. I'm just saying. I'm not lying about anything. I can pull anybody over at any time to check those three things. Yes. What about the law on helmets on motorcycles? You must wear one unless you are exempt by way of religious reason, which would be if you were a Sikh, practicing Sikh, you could wear a turban instead of a helmet. Or you wouldn't be able to wear a helmet because you wear a turban, and thus why there's an exemption. What do we have here?
All right, I'm going to have to step out.
Cool. And we're over time, 6 minutes, so actually I've got to step out too. I'm just looking for really, really... And Emma, you beat me to the answer about the helmets. Cool.
But anyways, have a great day, everyone. Take care.
Take care. Thanks for hopping in. Okay. Let's see here. I think we're good. I think the answer passed. What's the legal level for window tint? Window tint, 30% light blockage for the windows left and right of the driver. The ones in the back can be as dark as you want. The windshield cannot have any except for vehicles manufactured before January 1st, 2017. They can have a window strip, a tint strip across the top. That's it. And Emma, bang on, right on it with the answers to that as well. I'm just verbalizing. I could just read your answers. They're perfect. Okay. That being said, I think. Do I have any more here in the queue?
No. Well, yes, those two.
All right, we'll hit these two. Last two questions of the day. Cab truck driver pull you...
Can.
Yeah, I know, but it says cab, so I read them verbatim. Can a truck driver pull over to the shoulder for a few minutes if they can't fight fatigue? If you're about to lose control of your vehicle because you can't stay conscious, then that to me is an emergency. So yeah, you could pull over, but you're not supposed to pull over and park. You're not allowed to park on the highway. You want to get off the highway if you can. But if you're really losing it, it's not just a few minutes. You're not going to be able to close your eyes and render yourself rested moments after being to the point of fatigue. The truth is you need to plan better. You need to not wait till you're at the point of fatigue. You get off the road, you find somewhere safe to park that's legal, and that's what you should be doing. But could you pull over in an emergency situation? Yeah, that's what shoulders are for. What is the fine for unsecure load on a transport truck? Well, insecure load, it's not unsecure. Insecure load is going to be, I think it's just $110. Now, it might be more for CVSA level fines, and I don't know what those are. I'd have to talk to my CVSA friends who are exactly who I'd call if I was stopping a truck like that to do a full inspection from point to point on that truck. So once I see one problem, if there's a reason for me to pull over a truck, I'm phoning a friend, a specialist who's trained to do that, and they're going to go over your vehicle upside down and backwards. yeah, truckers, love you. You're vital for everything that we do in our country. However, when people take corners and cut them, the major problems put people at risk. So that's the deal. And Rob Warner is really big on fingers. Yeah, so he says that U.S. the finger is constitutionally protected speech. You would get sued. So first of all, Rob, we're not in the States. We're in Canada, and you can give people the finger. That's up to you. I'm just saying that you asked if I'd pull you over, and I'm saying that the behavior that you're exhibiting when you're waving the finger at a police officer is not wise. So you must have something wrong going on, and maybe it's drugs or alcohol. But in Canada, we can pull you over for any reason, over any of the 3 reasons I outlined like 5 minutes ago. So I won't repeat that. It's 10 minutes after. Let's listen to the fantastic traffic song and say we will be off the air until tomorrow at 10 a.m. when we will see you again. Enjoy.
Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow. Watch for pedestrians, look out for bikes, and don't drive like a jerk that no one likes. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Put down your cell phone, nobody needs you to text and drive on the DVP. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Stop at stop signs, look both ways, then go. Seatbelt, save your life indeed. And watch your driving, don't speed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Don't drink and drive or smoke some weed, because you might go to jail and not get free. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow.
Have a wonderful day. Stay safe and see you tomorrow at 10.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
And we're out. Stay safe, everybody, and you too, Akela.